rsmalec, and I am here in an early version of my tiny Minecraft map. I wanted to show you a little bit behind the scenes of what went into this map. I'm not 100% sure when this video is going to come out in relation to the map or how many additional pieces I'm going to film, but I just wanted to do this at this point in the map making process. Now, I'm about 25% done with the map at this point. Actually, I'm probably quite a bit more done with that, considering all the time that I spent prototyping and just getting certain things to work, which I'll show you in a minute. Where I am right now is I'm in the first, in fact, plot, I guess I'll call them. And each of the plots, as you may already know from watching the trailer or from playing the map, basically consists of this area that I've got in this version in Emerald, and this is what I call the housing section. That's just sort of a backdrop. The diamond section, which is what I call the above ground, and the gold section, which is what I call the below ground. Here's the buttons with the costs, and I think I demonstrated this, hopefully I demonstrated this in the trailer. Here are the two spawn points. So I'm not going to show you that. What I'm going to show you is what it takes for me to get these things populated with the random one of seven scenes. So there's 7 possible scenes that can go in housing, 7 possible scenes that can go into the diamond, and 7 possible scenes that can go into the gold. So if you think about it, that's actually 7 times 7 times 7 possible combinations just for this one plot, times this map will eventually have, I think, 10 total plots. So, you know, multiply that out 10 times, or really 10 factorial is how many different combinations of scenes you can get. So here are all the different scenes. And the back row, I'm not sure if I've showed this in the trailer or not. I might have left it up to the imagination, but the back row consists of what I call the village. This is housing number 1. It's your default Minecraft village. The castle, and you can see I actually decorated even some parts that you can't see. I used glass instead of water just for safety reasons. And I'm going to talk about item frames in a second. This is the igloo. This was originally, there's even a bed inside. Let's just take a quick look. There's even a bed, and there's a little table made of ice. This was originally going to be a taiga village, but since I realized that I can't really control biomes, I ended up just making an igloo. Here's the swamp hut, and I'm in 172, so you can see the bed texture is messed up. This is the desert village. Now, I had originally, by the way, thought of these housing plots to basically be much deeper, but I decided to go with the tiny plots. And then this is the desert temple, and I had to sort of make a miniature version of it, obviously. And then this is the jungle temple. So those are the 7 possible housing. Here are the 7 possible farmers. So, oh, I forgot to mention, the green area can only have 7 possibilities. The diamond area actually can have 14 different possibilities, depending whether you chose to hire farmers or crafters, and the gold section can either have miners or explorers. So the 7th farmer in the diamond section is the flower farmer. Now notice that the villager is not moving. Right now I've got all these villagers set to a 0 base movement, which will become important later. Also, I've got something to talk about these tall flowers in a minute. This is the sheep farmer. He's got 2 sheep. They do not have their base movement set. They're wandering freely. The melon farmer, and I don't know why he's in a pumpkin. He's never been in a pumpkin before this particular time of me opening the map. That's very interesting. The cow farmer, the carrot farmer, and FYI, this guy right here, this is an homage not only to a scarecrow but to Jagarbov. who really was the first person to do a multiplex type map, and that map had a set 20 by 20 area that you could build in. That somehow influenced part of this map. But anyway, this guy was normally facing this way, the same way the carrot farmer's facing. But when you copy and paste command blocks in MCEdit, sorry, not command blocks, droppers, they actually turn, so they're always facing one way. And so I ended up just turning it instead of dealing with that. Here's the pig farmer. And here is the wheat farmer. So this is the first of the farmers. Let's take a quick look at the crafters. I'm really proud of this crafter. I actually did a teaser screenshot of this on Twitter. This is just the default crafter, and I just love his crafting bench. I just love the way that looks. This is the blacksmith. You can see I had a lot of fun with these guys. Now these item frames, and the any of the tall flowers were a real pain in making this map. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is the fisherman, so he's not really a crafter, although my son says yes, fishing is a craft. But anyway, this is the alchemist. He lives in a little hut. This is the bowyer, or I was going to call him the Fletcher, but I didn't know if people would know what that meant. But if they see the word bow, excuse me, I think they will understand. This is the enchanter. Nice red windows. And then this is the redstone engineer. This is also kind of a tribute to Jakarbov. I tried to kind of come up with a little village house that reminded me of Aranov Mansion Adventure. The miners are not as interesting. They're fairly similar to each other. We've got the diamond miner. Oh, I was like, do I hear rain? Okay, we've got the diamond miner, the emerald miner. Now, notice I flipped it and I put the minecarts in different places. The gold miner, he doesn't have a minecart. He has to take everything up the ladder. Redstone miner, and notice all the villagers sort of have appropriate clothing to what they're mining. Here's the iron miner. He doesn't mess around with picks. He just poof. Lapis miner and the coal miner. Now, the coal miner's daughter's around here somewhere. Just kidding. Oh boy, that was a terrible joke. Okay, these are kind of cool. This is the Grotto Explorer, or I wanted to do like an underwater lake or an underwater river or a mushroom biome, but they just didn't quite fit into these little scenes here. So that's the Grotto. Here's the Stronghold Explorer. And I think, oh, that's right. I didn't put the portal in there. I just faked it out with a portal block under the stairs so you could see some particles. This is the Zombie Hunter. That spawner right there should be set to a player detection range of 1, so it's never going to actually detect me or try to spawn. I think I forgot to set this one, but it's fine. If spiders spawn in here, it'll just add to the fun. Anyway, I think I'm recommending this to be played on peaceful. Spider Hunter. This is the Lava Lake Explorer, and he is invulnerable, so hopefully if he jumps into that lava, it won't be a big deal. This is the Mineshaft Explorer, and this is the Nether Explorer. So he's kind of got a portal, and on one side it's the Nether, and one side it's not. Okay, so each of these, and then these structures right here, just clear those out. So where I am right now, at the point that I'm filming this, is I'm basically, or what I have to do is enable it so that when you press these buttons, and I'll show you the mechanics for that if I haven't already, depending how I edit this video, it's going to randomly, let's say we press the top button, it's going to randomly choose one of those back row structures, and it's going to put it in here where the emerald is right now. So it's going to randomize, choose one of 7, and populate it in. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it for you, because I can always clear it out later. So in this case, I got the castle, and looks pretty good, right? Item frame spawned, no issues. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then basically that enables these buttons, and you can either choose the farmer, craftsman, blah, 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 different costs on each. Hopefully I already explained that. Anyway, and then what needs to happen is that there needs to be 10 copies of this so that these things could spawn in any plot. Now, the simplest way to do that is to use a filter by SethBling called setBlockStructure, and a filter called Entity to Summon, and that is by Crushed Pixel, a name that I was not familiar with, but I couldn't find a filter that I wanted from Texelelf or SethBling, and so I had to go to Crushed Pixel, or YouTube searched it, and his or her filter does what I need. So a combination of those two filters are going to convert each of these spaces into one set of layer in these stacks. Now these stacks right now are using up a lot of extra space that's wasted, but I'm okay with that for now because I may need to use that space later for some custom stuff, which I'll show you. So basically, I'm pasting this in here. I'm running the two filters to create one of the layers in these stacks. And then what I'm going to have to do, once I get all of these things in here and in the stacks, which I'm going to demonstrate, then I have to run a filter by Texelelf called absolute to relative, which takes all the coordinates in all these command blocks and turns them to relative, because in plot number 3, I don't want the stuff to spawn here in plot number 1. I want it to spawn over in plot number 3. So then, when I have all relative coordinates, I can copy this structure 10 times, and everything should work the way that I want it to. So that was a very long introduction, but I want to actually show you the process that I'm going through to get these in, and then a different video or a different portion of this video I'll show you the mechanics of what's going on behind the scenes. Alright, so this process actually starts in MCEdit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this, and this clears my emerald section, and this warps me up to the top. I just want to clean up some of these entities here so they don't get in the way in the video. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I work on these sections. Now, first and foremost, I feel that it's important to show you some of the design principles that I use. This one is actually an Excel spreadsheet. It's a project plan, and this basically lays out everything that I need to do in order to get this map finished, or at least to a beta stage, and a % complete, so I can kind of track my progress. Now, this % complete right now, it started at the point where I'm duplicating plots. All the rows before that, where I was building everything and prototyping, I actually didn't track for this project. I usually track every step of the way, and I usually do it based on an estimated number of hours, so I can tell people at the end I spent X number of hours. This one I ended up not doing it, but this section up here is where I kept track of each of those scenes that go into the plots. And then after I'm done building the plots, I have to duplicate them 10 times, and you can see I have testing built in at multiple points. Then I have to go in and manually adjust the costs of things. I have to fix spawner coordinates and summon coordinates specifically for item frames. And then I do a full test. I might switch the scoring system from a hopper clock to what I call a hyper clock. And then I've got to build, pretty up the exterior, add the ending, add the intro, and at that point it will be beta ready. So right now I'm about 30% beta ready, and then I'm going to send it out, create the logo, edit these videos for behind the scenes, blah blah blah. Anyway, I wanted to make sure I showed you this, because I feel like if you're going to embark on any sort of map that is more complicated than just, you know, a single room, put some thought into it, and give yourself kind of a structure to work in. It will help you immensely to not forget things and then put out a buggy map. Alright, so here I am in MCEdit. This is version 171. I'm using Minecraft 172. And the first thing that you're going to notice when I pull up Tiny Minecraft is that a lot of these blocks are purple. That's because the MCEdit has not been updated yet to show the right textures. So that's been interesting, especially when dealing with some of the clays and stuff back here and the glass. For example, here's that fisherman, and you can't really tell the clay from the colored glass, but I make do. I've been making do. So my basic process, I'm going to walk you through the basic process, then I'm going to tell you some of the things that have gone wrong and that I had to do and figure out. So the first thing I do is select the scene that I'm going to paste in. I hit Analyze, and I scroll down just to double check the number of entities, because I can use one filter for the blocks, and I have to use a separate filter for the entities. So there's only one villager here, which is what I expected in the Stronghold Explorer. And before I do anything else, I copy it, I fly up here, and because I'm working in this gold section right now, I'm going to paste it actually out here outside of the structure, and I'm just going to slide it in and click import, and now that's the below ground structure that's going to get spawned into place. So notice I still have that area selected, and this is where SethBling's filter comes in. This is the first filter I use, set block structure. And all I do is change this to absolute coordinates, make sure that this first one is checked, and I hit filter. That basically puts the everything about this structure in the memory of the filter, I guess. I don't claim to know how to program in Python, so I can do minor debugging on filters, but I don't really think I could write one from scratch. Next thing I do is basically select the area that I want to place this layer, and I place these into a 10 by 10 by 10 structure. It leaves a lot of extra room, but that's okay because I've manually moved some of the command blocks in here and I needed that room to work. So now I've selected where I want the command blocks to be for that structure, and I switch this to build the command blocks, hit filter, and check that out. SethBling created this thing for me, like saved me so much time from doing that by hand. Next thing I do is I copy and paste the landing zone. This is actually where I'm going to spawn a block of redstone, which triggers everything. And I update this to say this is the landing zone for Explorer 2. Now separately I'm going to track what all these coordinates are so I don't accidentally spawn stuff into the wrong place, etc., etc. Alright, I don't need those anymore. Now, what you see here in stone, if I put a redstone block here, all these command blocks are going to fire, and they're going to recreate this scene here in this position right now, because I've got it on absolute position. But they won't recreate the entity, in this case a villager. So I need to select this area where the villager is. And villagers don't line up to the XYZ coordinates nicely, so you got to select a wider area. I make sure I've got him. And this is where I'm going to run Crushed Pixels filter. It's called Entity to Summon. And that's just going to create one command block per entity. And then I cut it out of there, and I bring it down here. And for now, I've been placing the entities here in this wooden section. So I always place the first one right there. And then because I want this to spawn last, this is SethBling's default structure, I actually take some repeaters and I stick them in here just so that this spawns a tick later than the things before it, ideally. I may have to adjust that later when I test this out on a less powerful computer than what I'm building this on. Now that's about 90% of what I need to do, and I needed to do that basically 35 times, so 5 different scenes times 7 different options. And then the next step Alright, so I'm back in Minecraft right where I left off. Now currently the underground has the one that I copy and paste, and then you see the block missing because I had converted it to command block. So what I like to do is I like to go over here and clear it, and I also like to clear my inventory, and then I created a handy little thing up here which saves me a little bit of flight time. Okay, there's one block down there that didn't get cleared or that popped off at some point. So I like to clear all that out. So now I've got a nice empty space. I go down here and I'm actually going to do two different things at once. First thing I'm going to do is remember that command block that I pasted in for the villager. This is the entity command block. Well, villagers don't really behave 100% perfectly with this filter. So what I have to do for all 35 villagers, I have to go into the command block, and I like to spawn him one block above where he actually needs to land. That way he won't like accidentally spawn in the block. And then the other thing I need to do, and this is my own doing, is remember in the scenes themselves the villagers were not moving. It's because I have their movement speed base set to 0. And so I just need to go into each one and change it to a 0.5. Now once I've changed it in this block, I'm hoping when I copy this 10 times I won't have to do that for every single block. However, there's some exceptions to that rule, and I'm just going to talk about those really quick. You might remember some of the plots had item frames in them. They might also have minecarts. I think those are the only two entities I need to worry about. And I'm going to show you this example here. So for item frames, okay, this is a boat. So there should be some item frames in this one. This is the villager. Here we go. For item frames, there's a couple different parts to the command. The first part is the actual coordinates of the item frame itself. And when I first paste these in using the filter, you'll have to take my word for it. I don't have one to show you, but these have some crazy decimal points on them, and I have to trim off the decimal points and actually round the z coordinate up 1 for some reason. And then later in the command block, I have to do it again here in the position attribute, and then I have to check the tile X, tile Y, and tile Z attributes here to make sure that it's connecting to a valid block, because an item frame actually has its own coordinate. I can kind of demonstrate with this sign. If you pretend it's an item frame, there would be the coordinate of this sign or the item frame and which way it's facing, and then the coordinate of the block it's attached to, which should just be one off from it. So I had to manually go in and adjust all of the coordinates for the item frames. Now, when I do Texelelf's filter absolute to relative, it should fix all of those coordinates in the first instance, but I'm still going to have to go in by hand 10 times the number of item frames, which I think is 26, and manually update those. So 260 manual updates I'm going to have to make, but that's fine. That's part of map making is manual work, and these filters have saved me so much manual work so far. Okay, so now I'm going to test it. You remember that gold space up there was empty. We're going to pretend that we summoned this in, and one thing I noticed right off the bat is that it doesn't say entity summoned. So I'm going to go up and just double check. Now for some reason, yep, so the villager didn't get summoned, and it looks like the portal block isn't going to get summoned, and I kind of expected that. The reason is because when you place a portal block somewhere that it's not supposed to be, and then you place a block next to it, it actually destroys the portal block. I don't think there's anything I can do about that. So I think in the final version, well, what I could do is I could go into this stack here and I could try to find the command block. There's probably, I don't know, there's not that many command blocks, maybe 40, 50 command blocks here. I can try to find the one that spawns the portal block, and I can move that up to this top layer here so that it spawns last. That might work. I'm not sure if that will work. It works in MCEdit, but don't know if it'll work in-game. Okay, so the villager didn't spawn at all, and I think it's just because it's got something to do with the way that MCEdit puts things in place, because I think if I do it now, it should work just fine. There we go. Object summoned successfully. For some reason, they don't always work the first time, but they work every time after that. There we go. So there's the Stronghold Explorer. And I think what I might do is go in there and try to find, like I said, the particular command block that creates that portal, and I'm going to move that up. I'll do that off camera. So these are 4 stacks that I have completed: the housing, the farmers, the crafters, the cave explorers, and I'm working right now on the I'm sorry, these are the miners, these are the cave explorers. And I think maybe while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the mechanics that are in the map. And I don't know if that'll be in this video or a separate video.